Trading full-time is not nearly as common as you may think, and I say this building off of our last video that was posted here on the channel just about 1 week ago. We covered a study that showed in Brazil, Brazilian futures traders, 97% lost money, and of the 3% that actually made money, very, very few made good money, so to speak, and many were actually making less than the minimum wage in Brazil. If you haven't seen it, it's not a super long video. Highly recommend it. We also have a link to the study underneath in the video description of that video. Highly recommend you just check the study out because it's some pretty cool stuff and there's not too much data like that out there. But while stats and data are great, and let me tell you, I love stats, I love data, it doesn't always tell the full story. And I think I want to dive deeper into that full story. So that's what we're gonna do in today's video. We're gonna cover why it's so hard to actually become a full-time trader, and then what we can do about that. Now, first, I want to talk about what trading actually is, but before we dive in, I do want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Iron Beam.
Welcome to Iron Beam, the future of futures trading. With our cutting-edge chart trading feature and 300+ indicators, you can now trade directly off the chart anytime, anywhere. Delivering seamless trading across all platforms, the Iron Beam journey is supported by 24-hour trader support, low day trade margins, and no account minimums. Iron Beam brings the future into the present. Join now and augment your trading experience.
All right, so first let's talk about what trading actually is. Trading is a probabilities game. It's not a I know what's going to happen next game, so I'm going to do this. It's a probability game. And that's obviously easier said than done. But when you truly step back and understand that and are okay with that, that's when things start to open up. And what I mean by that is if you are still struggling with the bias and with trying to predict where we're going to go next because, you know, you have this position or you have these positions or you have this net tie or this tie to making more money if the market goes higher or lower, you're going to find yourself struggling. And I was doing that, I'm telling you, for a long time. But when you finally get to that point of like simply what trading is hey, I see this pattern or I see XYZ or this happens, and based off of this, there's a higher probability that this could happen than this. Or there's a higher probability that if I do this, I'll make money in the long run. My example, 49% win rate. Sometimes it's a bit better, sometimes it's a bit worse. But on average, after 1,000 trades, 1,000+ trades, 49% win rate that I've tracked, journaled, and logged with TradeZella. Link below if you want to check them out. And inside of that, that tells me like, oh man, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Well, guess what? 1.8 average risk reward, meaning that I make $1.80 for every $1 that I lose. With a 1.8 average risk reward, realized risk reward, that allows me to be very profitable at a 49% win rate. So when I know my numbers, I simply say, well, when I see this setup, I do this, I'm going to be right half the time. But when I'm right, those winners will be decently sized. And when I lose, they'll be, you know, modestly sized. And over the long run, it'll make money. Simple as that. When you get to that point, you actually start to trade versus play that game. And you can say it's a game, but you're really playing a game with yourself at the end of the day. Once you figure it out and you finally kick your ego to the curb, things unlock. But given that, and this is something that I think I realized more so recently, because you see a lot of people on this platform or ever, and I honestly do. I hate saying that because like when we get into it and you start talking about this stuff, doesn't everybody say the same shit? Doesn't everybody say, oh yeah, well, the social media trading space is not real? We all say the same thing. I think it's common sense, common knowledge. Yeah, no shit, it's not real. Okay? But for the average person, but when we understand that we can't control things and it's a probability game, we have to also understand that it's not a perfect probability game, meaning we're not going to, if we're a 50% winner, we're not going to win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, win, lose all the time. We might lose 5 in a row. We might win 6 in a row. I had a 12 in a row winning streak, then I lost 5 in a row. Like, that's how it actually ends up playing out. It's not I win, then I lose, then I win, then I lose, then I win, then I lose. So how can I guarantee how much I'm going to make in a day, in a week, in a month, or even a year? Now, the bigger the time frame, I think we can get to a better sense of averages and like, okay, well, I probably will be somewhere over here. My sizing is this, and my stats are similar to what they were last year. You can get to there. But if you trade, a couple of times a week, maybe once a day on average, heck, dude, you could have a month where you lose. You could have a month where you make no money. You could have a month where you win every trade. It's possible. So how do you use that as your income when it's so volatile? It's so different week to week, month to month, and then of course even year to year. That's certainly true, especially if someone's going through the ups and downs early on, and then as you progress and get better. If this was a job application and it was for a CEO of an amazing company that you love so much, that you'd love to be, a CEO for, but they told you that your salary and your paycheck every 2 weeks is going to depend upon how the business does. And you knew that these months out of the year, we tend to decline. These months, we tend to do well. Around the holidays and Black Friday, we do well, so I'll make more then. But would you take that job if you didn't know the timing and you couldn't pre-plan for when you're going to go through downturn, when you're not? I don't know. I don't know how many people would take that job. Being truly honest, it puts a lot of financial pressure. Let's say this scenario. You got a wife, you got kids, you got a mortgage, you got 2 car payments, insurance payments, got a lot of stuff. Not to mention, if you're a day trader, do you have health insurance via your company? No. Something that I'm experiencing right now. It's like, yeah, I mean, dude, like, it's annoying. Like, these things all add up. And if you didn't know what you're going to make next month, but you had a lot of fixed cost expenses, would you sign up for that job? Or if you did sign up for that job because you're like, no, I can't, I got to do this, I'm going to be good, I'm going to make it. When those pressures and those bills start becoming, they're due, does that alter how you start to trade, how you act day to day? It very well could. Maybe make $10,000 one month, you go 0 the next month, you make $20K the next month, you're like, oh, let's go. The next month you lose $5K, and if you had, let's say, $5,000 of fixed cost expenses, I mean, in theory, you're okay, but you're cutting it close. So what do we do about this? Is there a solution here? And I think there's really 2 things. One, you build a nest egg. So first things first, either you have a nest egg coming in or you got to build one. And in the case of most people, you're probably going to have to build one. And that's kind of the situation that I personally am in. It's like, there's not the trading income, despite profitability for an extended period of time, 1,000 trade plus now, like despite those things, I don't feel comfortable with that being the sole provider of income because it's volatile and I can't control how much it's going to make, but I got fixed expenses. So I got to pay these bills, but I don't know how much I'm going to make. And so mentally that can be very tough, and it's going to be tough to sleep at night. And it's not going to be easy to trade the same way when I need money for rent, house, car, insurance. Or you go the route that I think makes more sense for people is have other income. And if you're the entrepreneurial type and you're like, I don't want to get that 9 to 5 and blah, 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 you don't have to. Maybe you do have one, maybe you don't. But there's part-time opportunities, there's side hustles, but there's also service-based businesses. There's things that you can do to supplement your income just to guarantee. And if you are a single person in their 20s or 30s who's living pretty lean, it's kind of generally how I plan to be for a bit, living as lean as possible, then you don't have a ton, you don't have as much fixed costs, so you don't necessarily need to make a shit ton of other income right now to cover those fixed costs that allow you to then trade freely without the worry of, oh, can I pay the bills next month? You know what I mean? A good month, great. You're building the nest egg. A bad month, no problem. I still have the bills covered. And that's kind of the best mental approach, I think, to ultimately moving your way towards trading full-time. and trading as like your main source of income. As you build that nest egg, at the same time, what you can also do is be building up passive income sources through, let's say, dividend positions, options income, selling covered calls, and whatnot, or just stacking cash in a high interest savings, which right now is paying well. Maybe in a couple of years, the rates don't stay this high. I don't know. Who knows? And maybe it won't. But right now, you can go get 4 or 5%. Pretty doable. And that's a nice chunk of change that could be paying you a chunk and contributing to your fixed cost expenses as you build that nest egg. So while it's rare, it's definitely doable in my opinion. And hopefully this video gave you some more insight into, first off, why it's hard, and then what we can actually do about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll leave those links to the sponsor and anything else down below in this video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Check out last week's video where we talked about that study. I think you'll find it pretty cool. Peace.